everyone, and welcome back to Cooking with Suzanne. So if it were your birthday, I know everyone has a favorite dessert that they would love to share and celebrate with on their birthday. My favorite dessert, since it's my birthday tomorrow, I absolutely love creme caramel. It's a classic French dessert, and actually at the restaurant we often have this on our menu. This should make about 7 to 8 desserts. And these little Pyrex glass cups, which is about 4 ounces, works pretty well to get 8 of them. So for the custard, the first thing that we need to do is heat up our milk with our sugar. So I have 4 cups of whole milk here that I'm going to heat. And you don't want to bring this to a boil. You just want this to simmer and allow the sugar to melt. So we have 4 cups of milk, and in here is 1.5 cups of sugar. However, you want to take away 1 tablespoon. So it's 1.5 cups minus 1 tablespoon, which is going to be added to your sugar to make your caramel. Here goes our sugar, and I do like to add a little pinch of salt. Not much, this is kosher salt. About 1/8 teaspoon of salt is going in. Now I just want to get this on the stove. I have it on medium heat. While the milk is warming up and the sugar is being melted, we can get our ingredients ready for our caramel. I have another small pot here, so I will add my 1/2 cup plus my 1 tablespoon of sugar, granulated sugar. And to that, we want to add 3 tablespoons of water. And 3 tablespoons of light corn syrup. Now let's get this on the stove. I'll start it on high. I may turn it down, but we can definitely get it started on high. And what we're looking for is a nice caramel color. You can go as dark as you like or as light as you like. And I'll show you, I kind of like it right in the middle for the creme caramel. I don't like it too dark. And I'm just checking on our milk. And once the sugar is completely melted, we can then add it to our eggs. I have 5 whole eggs and 3 egg yolks. And I'm just going to slowly whisk in the hot milk into the eggs and then add some vanilla extract. Our milk is almost ready, so the first thing I want to do is just whisk the eggs a little bit before we start adding the warm cream. I'm sure it's done, so I'm just going to shut it off. It just needs to be warm and the sugar completely melted, which it is. So I'll shut that off. So we're adding our warm milk a little bit at a time. You don't want to cook the eggs. And once you have a good amount in and it's tempered, you can go ahead and finish adding your remaining milk. I'm using vanilla extract, which I will use about 2.5 teaspoons for this amount of milk. You always add extract after you have cooked it. So if I were to use a vanilla bean, I could have put the vanilla bean directly in with the milk and sugar. But here for creme caramel, we're going to just use extract, so I add it now. 2.5 teaspoons. That's a 2 teaspoon measure. And another half. That is all there is to making creme caramel. It is really nice to make this a day in advance, strain this, put it in the refrigerator, and let it set for a day, and then come back and make your creme caramel the next day. If you're in a hurry and you can't, you can certainly go ahead and make it right now, but it is best to let this sit in the fridge for a day. I have a clean bowl with a strainer, so I can just go ahead and pass this through the strainer. There we go. So if for any reason you happen to have cooked the egg a little bit, it would all get caught in the strainer and it wouldn't be in your custard anymore. Nothing there, that's good. So I will Saran this and put this in the refrigerator, and we will bake these. I will bake the majority tomorrow. However, I will bake a couple right now so that you can see what it looks like when it's done. Okay, our caramel, let's just show you real quick the caramel and how quickly it turns. Can you see that? Okay, so now is when you need to work quickly, and you want to add we'll start with a tablespoon. Okay, this is ready, so let's put in a tablespoon in each one. Now what you want to do with this pot is to right away put some water in it, and if you get it back on the stove, it'll get rid of, because the caramel will harden right away, so it just makes for much easier cleaning. I have it on low, and then it'll be a piece of cake to clean. Okay, so we will pretend that, by the way, making the caramel ahead of time is wonderful. So you can make these ahead of time, just Saran it, leave it room temperature, then the next day add your custard and get them baked. So you can do this ahead of time. And hopefully you can see the color of the caramel. It's a beautiful color, so the whole bottom is coated. I have a little pitcher here that I'm going to pour some of the custard straight in. It's a little bit easier, and what you want to do is fill it about 2/3 of the way up. I will refrigerate the rest of this and bake these off tomorrow, but in the meantime, I'll get this ready to bake off 4 of them today. So let's get them. I'm making a bain-marie, which is going to be filled half of the way up, or at least 1/3 of the way up, with hot water. And then we cover it with Saran wrap. And yes, Saran can go into your oven. Your oven will be set at 300 degrees. I would say for this size, which is your standard normal size for a creme caramel, it takes 30 minutes. It should just have a slight jiggle in the center. That's when you know your custard is done. So let's see if the water's hot. It doesn't need to be boiling, but the water does need to be hot. So I'm just going to lift one out so I can pour the water in. Oh, here. Let me move the Saran so that you can see that. Now what I want to do is take a piece of Saran and tightly wrap it. I'm tucking it underneath my pan here. There we go. And now I want to do it one more time. The only thing that's very important for you to know is that the Saran keeps all the steam inside. So when you actually take off the Saran, be sure to take it off with some tongs, or have a pot holder at hand. You can burn yourself from the steam. So you want to be extremely careful when you take the saran off of the custard. And I'll show you that when it comes out of the oven. Okay, so here it is, tightly wrapped. I have my oven at 300 degrees. I will check it in 30 minutes, and then we need to let this set. It has to cool down at room temperature, and then you need to refrigerate. Your custard for at least 4 hours. So it is a dessert that you do need to plan to do ahead of time. A fruit, any fruit would go wonderful with this. Fresh raspberries, fresh strawberries, that's the first fruit that will come out this season, would be absolutely wonderful. Nice fresh fruit to go with the richness of the custard is really delightful. All right, we will be back when this is done, and then we will have to let these cool before I can invert it onto a plate. Our custards are coming out of the oven. What you're just looking for is just a little jiggle in the center of the custard, not the whole thing, just the center. So here's my plastic. As I said, all the steam is underneath this plastic. So I always use tongs, and that's why I want to show you here. And just grab a piece of the plastic from underneath, okay, so that you can lift, but you don't want to put your hand there, okay? Can you see? Hopefully you can actually see the steam that is coming off of this. And that is really important to make sure you don't just take your hand and do it, because you will burn your hands. So these are just perfectly set, and what I usually do is just take an offset spatula and get underneath it. Okay, and then just set them on a wire rack. Okay, I'm going to just take a towel and bring it over to you. Okay, so here is our custard. You can see that I have the caramel is on the bottom. Okay, so I'd say between 30 and 40 minutes, also depending on the size of your dishes that you're using. You can use any size you want. So I'm going to let this set. This is going to take at least an hour to come to room temperature, if not longer. Then I will refrigerate them, and you want them completely cold and totally set before you invert them. And then I'll come back and I'll show you how to do that too. Well, it's been a couple of hours and it does feel quite cold, and I think it'll be okay to unmold it. So we're gonna give it a try. So I just have a little offset spatula here, and I like to just kind of go around a little bit, just very gently, to loosen it just away from the glass, the edge. I hope this is going to work. I hope it's been set long enough. And I want to make sure that the caramel is loose on the bottom because it hasn't sat very long. So I have a little container of hot water here, and I'm just going to set it in there for a few seconds to hopefully be able to melt the caramel, since it has not set that long. Usually I always do it at least 24 hours. Okay, let's see if that helped to loosen up the caramel. Okay, so if you have a little offset spatula, you first can take your dish and put it upside down and tip it over. And if it doesn't seem like it wants to come out, if you have a little, even just a little, even a spoon would work. You don't need to use an offset spatula like this. And you just want to kind of help it. Okay, it came out pretty nicely. Oh wow, that looks good. And I'm just rotating the caramel around. Oh, it looks beautiful. Okay, and I have some raspberries here, so you could decorate it with a few raspberries. And I love my little edible flower, so we will put a little edible flower. And we even have a little sprig of mint, which we can set right in the center of our raspberries. And I think this makes a lovely birthday dessert, which I am really looking forward to. This looks just beautiful. And you can see the caramel on the bottom of our dish. It's beautiful. Came out really, really nice. And very easy to make. Once you get the hang of making the caramel part, which I know that's the part a lot of people get worried about making, once you get the hang of it, as far as to make the custard itself, it's so easy. So here we are. Okay, thanks for celebrating my birthday with me. Take care. See you again soon. Bye-bye.